Father is now facing manslaughter charges after a deadly car crash, even though he wasn't in the car. Prosecutors say the reason is he let his 15-year-old daughter drive his SUV. She didn't have a license or even a permit. They say the girl was tearing down a road in the Poconos in northeastern Pennsylvania when that vehicle flipped over and killed 3 teenage passengers. The daughter and 2 other teens survived. Investigators say passengers had pleaded for the girl to slow down, but she ignored them. This happened Labor Day weekend, just a few days before school started back there. Police say the father owns a vacation home there and that he and his daughter live in a wealthy suburb of New York City. Investigators also say this was not the first time he allowed her to drive that SUV. They say she drove to the Poconos the day before the crash. Again, no license, no permit. But the father's lawyer says his client did not give her permission on the day that this actually happened. Of course, teenagers disobey their parents all the time. The father's lawyer calls this case a stretch and says prosecutors are proposing a, quote, sensational legal theory. Let's bring in another lawyer. Drew Findling is a criminal defense attorney and joins us live this afternoon from Atlanta. The father can be charged for the actions of the daughter in his absence?
Yeah, Shep, he really can. They're going with involuntary manslaughter. And really what that says in Pennsylvania in this aggravated misdemeanor charge is if illegal conduct, which if you can prove he let his unlicensed daughter drive a vehicle, that's illegal, was the cause of somebody else's death, then that would be involuntary manslaughter. I don't find it too unordinary to do a charge like this. What I do find interesting is how are you going to prove he gave permission? Because remember, Shep, you've got people that are clearly going to be filing lawsuits right now, and a motivation may be the fact that this guy is wealthy and he probably has a big umbrella policy, and these lawsuits are going to produce millions and millions and millions of dollars.
There seems to be no disputing that he allowed her to drive the day before on the drive to the Poconos, but does that action have any bearing on the actions of the next day?
Yeah, I think you're going to have to show that on this particular occasion, he gave her permission. And here's why this case is difficult for the defense. And that is, you're not going to get to the ordinary car accident analysis. In other words, okay, so she was driving, but was she speeding? Was she being reckless? Because it doesn't make a difference. She didn't have a permit. She didn't have a license. Therefore, she's not permitted to drive. Even to me, if she were going 25 miles an hour, if you can show he gave permission, he's still in hot water.
Interesting to me, at least, maybe not out of the ordinary, let me know that they're going to have different legal teams with completely different goals. This father and this child are going to basically be opposing each other.
Absolutely, Shep. That is what, when I read about this case, I'm like, holy cow, this defines conflict. This is something that they'll teach in law school one day using this case, because the lawyer for the father is going to have to say, as he already has, hey, I didn't give the kid permission. I had no idea she was going to do this. The kid's lawyer is going to turn around and say, hey, she just did what daddy let her do. She didn't understand the law. She just assumed if her dad gave her permission, well, she did what daddy permitted her to do. They absolutely do have nothing in common. They're in complete conflict with one another.
They're going to do it. There is no child who's about to be old enough to drive who doesn't realize, I can't drive right now. Soon I'll be able to drive. Right now I have no freedom. Soon I will have freedom. If there's a law they understand, surely it's that one.
Except when it comes to the law of the father that says, as this allegation says, remember, the allegation is she went to go pick something up for her dad to eat. So if she turns around with her lawyer and says, hey, daddy sent me out for a chicken biscuit and a cup of coffee, I just did what daddy said.
Yeah, I guess that could go that way. Drew, have a great holiday. It's nice to see you.
Shep, same to you, man.
Thank you.